American Indians, what is it that first comes to your mind? The popular image generated through dime novels, news coverage, movies, and radio productions is one of a savage and uncivilized people. Violent, primitive, unsophisticated savages. What images do these sounds bring to your mind? OldWestStories.net welcomes you to a brief history of American Indians in the Old West. Please watch the images that follow, enjoy some music, and see some of the American Indian Old West stories that you can read about at www.oldweststories.net. Learn a little of people who faced annihilation, depredation, and the invasion of their lands. They had family murdered, kidnapped, imprisoned, enslaved, and sometimes worse than that. No man should tolerate their family being treated in this way, and the American Indians did not. They fought back in the only way they had at their command. Chief Red Cloud of the Lakota people was a great war leader and a chief of the Oglala Sioux. He fought bravely, led his people well, and spoke eloquently.
They made us many promises, more than I can remember, but they kept only one. They promised to take our land, and they did. Chief Red Cloud.
The Lewis and Clark expedition was traveling over the punishing Lolo Trail in Idaho. They were tired and hungry, some on the verge of collapse.
I have been wet and cold in every part as I ever was in my life. Indeed, I was at one time fearful my feet would freeze in the thin moccasins which I wore. William Clark, 1805.
They now relied on the Nez Perce Indians for their survival, just as they had with the Shoshone earlier on their trip. 300 Kiowa and Comanche Indians attacked Fort Parker on the Navasota River in East Texas. People believed the land near the Navasota River was safe.
No! 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 No!
Cynthia Ann Parker was taken captive by Comanche Indians as a 9-year-old. She was later recovered and taken home to a white family. Cynthia and her daughter died having never stopped trying to get back to their Comanche home. Reverend Henry H. Spaulding established a mission to the Nez Perce Indians in Lapwai, near present-day Lewiston, Idaho. He baptized several tribal leaders, developed a written language, and translated parts of the Bible. His actions divided the tribe. A Nez Perce chief, known as Lawyer, a Christian, disagreed with Chief Joseph, who led his people in flight across America to escape army persecution. The Cherokee Nation was forced to give up its lands east of the Mississippi River and to migrate to an area in present-day Oklahoma. The Cherokee people called this journey the Trail of Tears. Over 4,000 Cherokee died in the move. When the Indians were gone, the government seized their land. Gold nuggets were found at Pikes Peak in Colorado, near modern-day Colorado Springs. 100,000 miners came in 2 years. The army pushed the Indians aside. Apache warriors raided a small ranch owned by John Ward in Arizona on the Sanita River. The warriors captured a young boy named Mickey Free. Lieutenant George Bascom blamed Cochise and threatened to kill Cochise and his family. 3 white settlers and 3 Indians were killed by the end of this fiasco. Captain Ross found a yellow-haired, white-skinned woman among Comanche Indians he had captured. It was Cynthia Parker. She was returned to her previous home, but kept trying to get back to her Comanche family. Her young daughter went with her, but never adjusted well to life with white people, and soon died. Cynthia also died, still attempting to return to Comanche lands, an action her white family could never fully understand. 4 Santee Sioux men returning from hunting stole some eggs and then killed 5 white settlers. A Sioux uprising followed, and Indian trader Andrew Myrick was among those killed. He is famous for refusing the Indians access to food. When the government money for the Sioux was late, they came to Myrick asking for food on credit until that money arrived. Myrick was not sympathetic.
Let them eat grass! Andrew Myrick.
When his body was found, his mouth had been stuffed with grass. 1862. Little Crow was the leader of the Santee Sioux during the massacre of 1862. Indians knew there would be widespread reprisals for the deaths of white settlers, and Little Crow took the decision to strike first. Fort Ridgely became a haven for settlers, and 800 braves surrounded the fort and attacked. Following the attack, 2,000 Santee Indians were rounded up and imprisoned. No Indians and no interpreters were permitted to speak at the trial that followed, with the army stating it would be unfair for them to speak if they did not understand what was happening. 307 Indians were sentenced to hang. 39 Indian prisoners were eventually hung in Mankato, Minnesota. Mankato still holds the record for the most people hanged in the United States in a mass hanging. During a forced repatriation march, on the way to the new reservation, 4 settlers were killed by Indians. Chief Joseph tried to hold back the young men of his tribe who wanted to fight, but emotions ran too high. Widespread panic followed in the settlements. During the massacre that followed at Wounded Knee, unarmed and defenseless Indian families were slaughtered. Captain Silas Soule refused to kill them and gave evidence in court about the atrocities. This man of conscience was murdered for standing up for what was right.
It looked too hard for me to see the little children on their knees, begging for their lives, having their little brains beaten out like little dogs. Captain Silas Soule.
On January 7, 1865, Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Sioux Indians attacked Camp Rankin, now known as Fort Sedgwick. The attack failed and they moved to Julesburg, Colorado. The town was completely destroyed. In 1868, Fort Laramie hosted a key treaty meeting, which was held with the Indian chiefs, led by Red Cloud. During the meeting, soldiers coming to build forts arrived, and Red Cloud stormed out when he saw them. He refused to talk, and he said he would now fight, and Red Cloud's war was on. Red Cloud's young warrior, Chief Crazy Horse, lured Lieutenant Fetterman over Lodge Trail, where 2,000 warriors waited in ambush. Fetterman had said he could ride through the entire Sioux nation with just 80 men. On this day, that is what he had, 80 men. On that day, Fetterman and his men all perished. Red Cloud won his war. He watched the soldiers leave, and then, only then, he signed the Fort Laramie Treaty on 29th of April, 1868. The peace only lasted 8 years. Chief Black Kettle survived the massacre at Sand Creek in 1864. He and his wife later died in the Battle of Washita River when attacked by George Armstrong Custer. Custer claimed a battle against 103 fierce warriors, but most were old men, women, and children. In response, Crazy Horse, Goal, High Horse, Rain in the Face, and other chiefs waited with thousands of warriors. On June 25, 1876, the Battle of Little Bighorn saw the end of General Custer. Chief Goal was a key participant and recounted the battle that ended Custer's days of fame. Sioux stories hold that Custer committed suicide to avoid capture. Other accounts claim that Chief Goal killed him. On January 1st, 1889, Wovoka, known as the Ghost Dance Messiah, had a vision. He saw the plains covered with buffalo, dead relatives return, and the white man gone from the plains. He founded the ghost dance religion that spread wide and fast. At dawn, 43 agents surrounded Sitting Bull's cabin, and Police Lieutenant Henry Bullhead entered his residence, woke the old man, and arrested him. Sitting Bull was killed in the following fight. Soldiers claimed he was killed trying to escape. Other witnesses said he was tortured and set up before being murdered. The buffalo were the key resource of the American Indian in many regions. White settlements saw them almost wiped from existence in a few decades. This left Indians across the Americas in a state of poverty and added immensely to the pressures they were under. Starving men will always struggle to win in battle. In 1904, on September 21st, Chief Joseph died, never having been allowed to go home after his surrender in 1877. On March 4, 1905, Quanah Parker, the great Comanche war chief and son of Cynthia Ann Parker, had by now become politically influential. He rode in Teddy Roosevelt's inaugural parade with Geronimo and 4 other chiefs. The president had cultivated a cowboy image and used these great men to enhance his image. Learn more about some of the other trials endured by the American Indians when they faced the advance of white settlers. Check out www.oldweststories.net.